Hi guys, thank you very much for coming out tonight. We're here to have a little chat around our new Scrambler 1200XC and also new Scrambler 1200XE. So what we're looking to do is to give an insight into its chassis setup, its suspension and its technology. So let's start with a brief. This is a really important motorcycle for Triumph. So at the launch, we've described these as being the first of a kind that's great road focused, but also the first proper adventure focused Scrambler. So Steve, what was the thinking behind that? How did we get to that?
So the objective really was to create what is the ultimate Scrambler. It's a genre of motorcycle that really Triumph invented in the first place, and a lot of people have come into this space with motorcycles that are called Scramblers. But what we had an ability to create here was something that had real off-road capability and in many ways was the classic equivalent of an adventure bike.
So how long a project has it been?
So we've been working on the bike now for 3 years, and during that time we've been doing a lot of research with customers to understand not just what a classic bike customer would like out of the ultimate Scrambler, but also what might take somebody from an adventure bike and move them onto effectively a Scrambler platform. And talking to customers, what we've understood is absolutely the looks and the style of the bike are absolutely critical, and we've focused on an awful lot in the development in terms of the level of detail and the nice finishes that Triumph has become well known for. And then talking to the adventure bike customers, it's very much about giving them the capability that they expect out of an adventure bike. So that's excellent neutrality and handling on the road, but also something that is very usable and very tractable off-road. And also for the adventure bike customers, technology is obviously quite key. So we've put an awful lot of technology on the bike.
Thank you, Steve. So Stu, from an engineering perspective then, what makes the ultimate Scrambler?
You've got to start with a thumping high torque engine, add long travel suspension, you want a commanding riding position, but you want an accessible seat height, which we've got.
So we've got two versions. What was the thinking behind that?
So much like our adventure bikes, what we've found from talking to customers is that there are different preferences and different flavours in terms of what people want. So some people want a bike that is more road focused, so nimble handling and agile, but capable off-road. But then there are people who do more off-roading and they want something that is really capable off-road, but still good on the road.
Okay, Felipe. So tell us about the suspension setup. What's on these bikes and what's different between them?
Okay, we have a unique frame, a unique swinging arm, and we have rear all-in suspension and show a front fork, and a long travel suspension, which is this is the key.
We had a prototype bike that was already very, very good and very, very capable off-road and on-road, but it was just a question of really taking that to that next level. And for me, this bike is so easy to ride off-road compared to some of the bikes that are in the marketplace that are marketed as off-road bikes.
And actually, most of the adventure bike in the market has 200 millimeters when we now providing 250, because we feel when we were riding that we could go faster, we could go for bigger challenge.
Yeah.
And then we were asking for more travel suspension, more performance.
So what's the significance of having a 21-inch front wheel?
For off-road capability is just necessary.
The reality is that this bike is actually lighter than a lot of the adventure bikes in the market. Yeah. So again, you know, in terms of how that feels off-road, that gives a lot of confidence, I think. What do you think?
It's not only because it's light, but it's also because the mass is concentrated. It makes things much easier when you're riding. No?
So tell me about the twin spring, because that's certainly one of the things that you look at on the bike and you think that's really unique.
Okay, yes, this is a real innovation. And it's the longest travel unit that Ollins has.
And of course, it gives us that twin shock classic Scrambler look.
So talk about the engine then, Stu.
We've taken the high power engine, which has got the high compression ratio and low inertia crank. We've added a specific Scrambler tune. So this is all about making torque, low down in the rev range, and giving a really good sort of punch and drive from this engine.
So I guess that marries up with the agility and the weight that Steve's talking about. I mean, I've ridden the bike. I know it just feels fantastic on the throttle.
This is a really, really balanced bike. Every part works together to make a really, really nice Scrambler. So you want the punch from the engine, you need the long travel suspension, you need the comfort on the road. It all just fits together.
And then talking about sort of throttle response, that's ride-by-wire, but that's also technology. So Steve, what kind of technology have we got on there? We've got riding modes?
One of the things that we wanted to make sure that we delivered was a Scrambler that didn't have any compromise to it in terms of its performance. The kind of technology that you would expect on an adventure bike, we've put onto a Scrambler for the first time. You've got riding modes, including specific off-road and off-road pro modes. You've got a TFT instrument pack, you've got traction control, but you've also got cornering, ABS and traction control on the XC version.
What about the brakes?
Of course, we've got class-leading brakes, Brembo radial monoblock M50 caliper, 320mm disc. We've got radial master cylinder as well with the Brembo MCS lever. So that's a very high-spec brake setup.
And that's more advanced than quite a lot of adventure bike or
Absolutely,
sports bikes.
that's top level sports. So really nice setup for the bike. And now, of course, we've got the side-laced wire spoke wheels with tubeless tyres. So we've got the Mezzo Tourance tyre as standard, and that's a really nice adventure spec tyre.
So Felipe, really this is your baby. Are you happy with the result?
Absolutely. I think we got it. We're really happy with the performance. We didn't compromise anything. And it's not only me. We have Ollins guys that had the opportunity to experience riding the bike, and they were absolutely surprised by the performance.
The level of excitement that's building among customers is fantastic, the response we've seen so far. And for me, these two bikes really complete the picture for Triumph. So we've had the Street Scrambler in the market for a couple of years now, which has developed a fantastic following. That's a bike that is more urban focused as a Scrambler, but is something that you can take off-road, green laning. But with these two new bikes, we're really taking the whole Scrambler concept to a completely different level in terms of capability and what people are going to experience out of riding a Scrambler.
I think people are going to treat ahead of them when they take this out for a test ride. Thank you very much, guys. See you again soon.